Now, 7 o'clock on July 12th, 2022. We'll go ahead and call this school board meeting to order. And before we get into any agenda items, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for Margot Davis. She was a kinder para for over 24 years here at the Carson City School District. So if we could just take a minute to honor her passing. Thank you. Loretta, would you pass our condolences on to the family? I know you guys work closely together. Thank you. We'll go ahead and go to agenda item number 1, adoption of the agenda as submitted. Who made the motion? I'm sorry. Joe, and second by Mike. Any public comment? Any online public comment?
No, Mr. Varner, thank you.
Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Any discussion on the motion? I'll go ahead and call for a vote then. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, all opposed say nay. Motion carries. If people would join me for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item number 3, the superintendent's report. Superintendent Fueling, welcome to your first board meeting as superintendent.
Hey, thank you very much, President Varner and trustees. Thank you again for the opportunity. This evening, for the superintendent's report, I have the pleasure of introducing my replacement. Mr. Spencer Winward is here this evening. Spencer, if you want to come sit up here and say hi to the board, let them throw some tough questions at you. Spencer, I have known Spencer in passing in a couple of the NDE CFO meetings over the years. So he has been around for a while, 5 years at the Lyon County School District, and has some accounting and insurance experience in his background, and has a degree in accounting from University of Utah, I believe it was. No, Utah State. Sorry. That was probably a big mistake, so I apologize. So Spencer, I don't know if you'd like to say a couple words to the board?
Well, thank you, Mr. Fueling, Superintendent Fueling, and I'm so glad I get to share my first board meeting as Director of Fiscal Services with your first board meeting as Superintendent. So I'm really excited to be here and to serve in Carson City School District. Like Mr. Fueling said, I've been in school finance for the last 5 years, and I've really enjoyed it. Like being able to work with a product that you can be proud of, which is, education is one of those things. So any questions you have for me, I don't know, personal, professional, otherwise, fire away.
Joe, go ahead.
I'll start off, just welcome aboard, congratulations, happy to have you.
Thank you.
Just want, obviously, you've got some pretty big shoes to fill. AJ has been fantastic in his capacity as fiscal director, and I expect it'll be the same as superintendent. And as you know, you've been in Nevada long enough to know the challenges we have. So we're looking forward to working with you and, navigating this roller coaster of financing, if you will, with the school districts.
Yes, that's a great description of it.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Stacy.
So I know during the interview process, and you probably brought this up, but you do have experience in bar graphs, pie charts, colorful
Yes.
presentations.
With
Yes,
small,
I do.
Small words.
Just checking, because we've really grown used to that. So
All righty.
welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Lupi?
I also want to welcome you, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there again, I'd welcome you aboard like everyone else. And you do have some big shoes to fill, and we're sure that you'll be able to fill them. And AJ will be there to help. So welcome aboard once more.
The one downside is you're not going to be able to blame your predecessor.
That thought process is I've thought of that many times. So, but I am glad that those shoes are not going to be too far away as we collaborate and do our best to navigate the roller coaster that you mentioned. So,
But in all seriousness, I mean, as you all know, I mean, it is a difficult time for all school districts throughout the state. And it doesn't look like it's going to be brighter for a little while, unless the legislature sees fit to do something in this next session. So we'll have to wait and see. But thank you. Appreciate you coming tonight.
thank you all.
Mr. Fueling, you have any other comments?
Yes, thank you, President Varner. Two things to mention. So, as you know, the amazing Mrs. Ruth Lee Calerio at Mark Twain retired, so we will have interviews on Friday for the principal's position at Mark Twain Elementary. And then Mr. Dan Sadler, our new Associate Superintendent of Human Resources, has scheduled a job fair for the school district over 2 days, July 19th and July 20th, from 9 to 3 both days. The 19th is certified teaching and substitute teaching positions, and on the 20th, the many classified positions that we do have available in the school district. So we'll be getting that information out in other manners, but just wanted to make sure you are all aware. And that's all for today.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to board reports. Agenda item number 4. Mike, or Joe, can we start with you?
Yeah, Richard's not used to me being here.
No,
No, I have no report tonight.
thank you. Mike?
Do you want me to just do NASB as
Yeah,
well?
why don't you go ahead and do NASB now?
So I don't have a report from the schools, but I will say congratulations to Ruth Lee. So I hope her retirement is excellent and we find a great replacement for her. Last night, the board of directors for NASB met and approved the executive committee's recommendation to hire Rick Harris as our executive director. He worked a number of years in Washoe County, and he did a stint at Minogue High School. So he has great experience, and so we're in the process now where the executive committee is negotiating with him to get a final contract. So he should be at our meeting in September if you attend that training. So look forward to meeting him. Also, they really want to make sure that school boards and communities know about the finance committee's recommendations and meetings. And so you should have seen an email from Renee, which kind of summarizes the last meeting that came out. And they have been meeting with some subject matter experts to look about ways to get more revenue for our schools, to fund them more adequately, and to ensure our teachers and staff members have a livable wage and can have a good life and work as educators in our communities, which is making the problem so much worse. I mean, if you look at communities like Carson City, Lyon County, there's a lot of teachers that not a teaching positions need to be filled. But even if we find somebody to fill those positions, if they can't afford to live in the community, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. So they've been, some of the things you'll see in the report as they've been looking into, there's a lot of exemptions of sales tax. And so maybe they take some of those exemptions off. There's a lot of room to grow with property taxes. And so right now, AJ, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's not a recommendation. They're researching ways that the legislature could expand the revenue. And I would just say, reading through that and knowing the governor's pledge to have no new taxes this next biennium, it's not looking likely that any of those things are going to happen. But please read through that report. And for our community members, we'd like to make sure that everybody is aware of the findings and this information, because these schools are the community schools. And so the community has an interest in making sure they're funded adequately and we can educate the children of our communities. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mike. Stacy?
So just to kind of back up what Mike talked about, our new executive director for NASB, we had some really good candidates and got it down to 2. And the other guy was from Iowa. And they both had very strong interviews. So we were real excited about what came out of that, and excited about having Rick. And he should start August 1st. So if they can get the contract all set up. So feel free. We still have Tom in the interim. So if there's anything you guys need, let him know. Also from Parks and Rec, they have a Mills Park survey out right now that you can go online and share your thoughts about what you want to have done there. They're going to redo the master plan. We have a joint meeting with Open Space next Monday here in this room at 5:30. And Carson Tahoe has started their backpack drive, where you can drop off backpacks and school supplies at urgent care, the hospital info desk, and even at the Walmart clinic.
Thank you, Stacy. Dawn?
No report tonight.
Thank you. Lupe?
I don't have a report tonight either.
Thank you. I do not have a report either. And we'll move on to agenda item number 5. Association reports. I believe Dr. Ward does have a report tonight.
Good evening, President Varner, School Board. We would like to congratulate and welcome, this is Jennifer Ward for the record, President of the Administrators Association. We'd like to welcome AJ to his first school board meeting, and that we are super excited and looking forward to continuing a fantastic relationship with our district office. On that note too, we'd also like to congratulate Dan Sadler on his move out of Carson Middle School into our Associate Superintendent of Human Resources. We're pretty excited. We have some new additions and moving in our school district with our administrators, and I'd like just to take a moment to congratulate Amy Robinson for Carson Middle School Principal, Shelby Tuttle for Empire Elementary Principal, Dr. Carolyn Cook for the Vice Principal at Bordewick Bray, Jeff Herzl for the new vice principal at Fremont Elementary, which I'm excited about working with him. Gregory Thetford, he'll be coming to Eagle Valley as the new vice principal, and Carrie Pryor will be the dean of Carson Middle School. And so we'd like to congratulate our fellow administrators on their transitions and for this next upcoming school year. It looks to be pretty fantastic. And so now we just need to get all the retail stores to quit putting out school supplies just for a little bit longer because everybody's starting to freak out. So we just want to welcome everybody and to once again congratulate AJ on earning this position. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ward. Yeah, school's right around the corner, about a month away now for the teachers. 1 month. I hear it every day. We'll go ahead and move on to public comment. Speakers are asked to come to the table or podium, sign in, speak into the microphone, identify themselves for the record, are instructed to limit their comments to more than 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment in person? Seeing none, we'll close in-person public comment. Any online public comment?
Yes, Mr. Varner, thank you. This comment is from Robert Harris. Last week, he was the first parent to visit the Family Life Committee kiosk and review portions of the content the school board unanimously approved a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, not all the content was available for review, even though the newspaper article I read said it was available. I was expecting the ability to review the exact content that my children will be shown. I understand the district is still gathering the actual content from the teachers and will provide more classroom content next month. How was this content unanimously approved if the content is not available for review? My child, who has gone through some of these classes, said the teachers never use links from websites and only use DVDs. One of the videos the board approved is for 6th graders, and on the website the rating is for 7th grade and above. Did anyone on this board review this age rating before voting? Some of you are running for office this fall, and this oversight is a serious issue for me as a voter. I suggest not being a rubber stamp and reviewing items before voting on them. Don't forget Robert's Rule of Order can be applied for you to reconsider your decision. I'm not asking for the board to not allow the content. I'm asking the board to ensure the content that is approved is reviewed first and approved for the correct age group. In the 4-minute trailer, I was able to view for a video named How to Handle Bullies When You're LGBT. The young lady is using pronouns to describe her sexuality. Why is the board approving content that encourages 6th graders to define themselves sexually? Why is the board only concerned with certain types of bullies? The board should focus on all types of bullies, not just subset. A year and a half ago, I told the board about one of my children being bullied and not allowed to use the playground equipment because of the color of her skin. Why is this type of bullying not addressed? Why is it allowed to pull the hair of a male child and nothing is done to the teacher that the public is aware of? My point is, children should not be afraid to go to school regardless of their differences. Focusing on one group and not every group of bullying is discriminatory. So keep the idea of no bullying general and not specific, because bullying is more than just one group. I look forward to the kiosk being up and fully functional for reviewing all of the content before it is shown to my children per NRS 389.036, Item 5. Only seeking book covers and slips of videos is not full transparency like the law says. That's all I have, Mr. Varner.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 7, discussion and possible action to approve proposed changes to CCSD policy 904, the school visitors. And this is second reading, and this is for possible action, and Superintendent Fueling will be presenting.
Thank you, President Varner. As you are aware, at the last meeting, we had the first reading of a revision to policy 904 related to visitors. Some modifications were made, and as required, this has come back to you again for a second reading and approval.
Mike, go ahead.
So reading through this, I just have a couple suggestions. It just felt like something was missing, so I kind of collaborated with Ryan before the meeting. And so my suggestions would be, at the very first sentence, we keep Board of Trustees, but in the second sentence and the third sentence, instead of the board, to say the district. So the district encourages parents, guardians, volunteers, and community partners to visit schools, and then the district welcomes parents and community members. And then when we look at the line about visits being consistent, well, it just felt like something was missing. Consistent with what? And so what I'm suggesting we say is, provided the visits are consistent with all policies and regulations and applicable laws to ensure the health, education, and safety of students and employees. And it just kind of completes the thought, is my opinion.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments? I have one. On the first, excuse me, let me look at this. When we say parents, and up above it says parents/guardians, and then if you get down to the third paragraph up, it just says welcomes parents, and it just left guardians off, and just to be consistent, maybe we should put guardians in there also. And other than that, to me, it didn't look too bad. Stacy, you have anything? Don? Lupe, any thoughts? Okay, this is for action.
I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve July 12, 2022 as the revised date on policy 904 school visitors with the noted revisions.
Any public comment on this motion? Seeing no in-person public comment, do we have any online public comment?
No, Mr. Varner, thank you.
Any other questions by the board? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Move on to agenda item number 8, discussion and possible action to approve the Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool agent compensation in an amount not to exceed $25,000 as budgeted. And this is for possible action. And again, Superintendent Fueling.
Thank you, President Varner. As you remember from the last board meeting, as it was agendized, the costs related to our Nevada Pool Pact insurance policies, we had left off the payment, approving the payment of the commission to our broker, Mr. Ryan Garaventa, representing Alpine Insurance. So this is just a cleanup of that error, and for your approval this evening.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Make a motion.
Don?
then? Go ahead.
Want me to? I made the other motion without the $25,000, so I'll make the new one. I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve the Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool agent compensation in an amount not to exceed $25,000 as budgeted.
Second, Wilkie.
Any board discussion on the motion? Seeing none, any in-person public comment on the motion? Seeing none, any online comments?
No, Mr. Varner, thank you.
Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to agenda number 9, informational update on staffing for the Carson City School District for the 2023 school year for discussion only. And Mr. Dan Sadler will be presenting.
Thank you, President Varner, members of the board. Let's see, so there must be some good TV on tonight because this seems to be moving. President, yeah, you got it. Yes. I will promise not to break anything here. I'll try not to break anything, I should say. Setting myself up tonight. Thank you for having me here tonight, just to provide kind of a glimpse into open positions in our school district, kind of what that looks like currently, what we've been doing about it, and kind of how we're moving forward through things. So this was updated. This screen was actually this morning, so I know there's been a couple changes already in some positions that we were able to fill, but just kind of an overall snapshot. As Mr. Fueling had mentioned earlier, we will be interviewing for the Mark Twain principal position, so that's represented in that administrative position. And in the next couple slides, I'll break down site by site so you can see what these positions look like. But just to kind of start with a baseline, this is where we currently are today with open positions. Wanted to just kind of provide a baseline for everything. We currently have 873 employees on the books for next school year. And taking a look at positions that we've already filled, kind of just had to make a determination where to start this data collection. So kind of going back to when we were hiring for any positions that would be on the books for next school year. So far this year, we filled 54 certified positions, 16 classified positions, 7 administrative positions, 5 executive positions. In addition to that, we've had 2 classified positions filled with critical labor shortage and 5 certified positions as well. And again, you can, on the right side, you can see the current vacant positions that we have that we are looking to fill. And as I comb through site by site, I just broke it down so you could see the certified positions and what those specific positions represent. Anybody who might be watching this at home, if you're looking for positions, these are our current postings. So at Carson High School, 5 certified positions listed there, 3 classified. Carson Middle School, currently 8 openings, 4 certified, 4 classified. You'll see a pretty consistent theme with looking for special education paraprofessionals. I know we've had a lot of discussion about that, but that is definitely something that across the district we have a need for. Eagle Valley Middle School, 5 certified positions. Empire Elementary School just has 2 openings currently. Fremont Elementary School, I believe Dr. Ward filled 5th grade teacher. Is she nodding yes? Yeah. All right. So that's actually 1 certified position and 4 classified positions. Again, looking for those special education paraprofessionals. Mark Twain, again, principal, we will be interviewing Friday. Still looking for a kinder 1-year only. Pioneer Academy with a distance ed assistant. And I know I'm going through this kind of quickly, so we can come back and revisit any of these as you have questions. Seeliger with 1 certified position in 1st grade. And then as we start looking at different departments within the district, I broke those down here as well. Human Resources Department, we hired Ariel Hines yesterday for our HR manager position. So the HR analyst position is posted there. Cook Baker, definitely something that we're looking for folks for those positions. And then in operations, you can see that some of these positions are listed site-specific, but they're underneath operations. We have had quite a few applicants coming through for custodial positions recently, which is really good news. Student Support Services, currently 6 openings. Transportation, 3 openings listed, but we're always looking for drivers. And you'll see on this next page, these are the positions that are kind of ongoing district-wide, so our substitute teachers, nurses, paraprofessionals, office aides, all the way through that list, and all the way through our seasonal workers. So again, when you go to the district website, and that's really been our central hub for hiring, or for getting the word out, I should say, for open positions. And one of the things that we're going to be considering is what's the best way to get the word out about open positions? We don't want to dump a bunch of money into advertising without knowing what kind of result we're going to get there. And a lot of what we're hearing from other districts and working with people in like positions, I recently went to the HR boot camp with ASPA and talking to colleagues across the country, similar story with numbers and vacancies. But in filling those vacancies, more and more it's word of mouth. And how do we get the word of mouth from our current employees and people in our community about positions and opportunities, as opposed to spending dollars for a lot of recruitment. Taking a look at substitute teachers, we had 137 on the books, and we're in the process of cleaning that up for this upcoming school year. So we're also looking for substitute teachers, and we do have the approval of the state to assist in getting emergency substitutes in. And essentially what that means is if somebody has a high school diploma, they can qualify for a license. They still need to be licensed substitutes. So they still have to go through that process with the state. So that's something that's new for us as far as supporting that as a district, should we need to. Previously, I don't have the number of credits off the top of my head, but you had to have, correct, you had to have so many college credits to qualify. That sounds about right. Yeah, so considerably different, just having a minimum requirement of a high school diploma, for sure.
I got a question on the high school diploma thing. And if we hired them as a substitute, is there any training program that the district's going to put them through instead of just putting them in the classroom and say, do your thing type?
Yes, that's a good question. And as a starting point, if you look at some of our neighboring districts, you'll see that they have some different supports in place for substitute teachers. We historically have not had a whole lot. We've moved forward with people who wanted to do the job, and then we put them in place. We did do a little bit this past couple of school years when we talked about getting super subs, and certainly our long-term subs have a little bit more support built in. But again, referring back to some of our surrounding districts, there is online support and that actually provides a certificate. Mr. Walker may be familiar with it. A STEDI program, I believe it's referred to as STEDI. So getting that set up for our district, there's no cost for us. And then for folks who want to get the certification, I believe it's $39.95. And that puts them through some basic classroom management, how to handle situations, some professionalism, how to interact with staff, students, parents, things like that. And that'll be something that we want to consider as we further develop our own staff, how we can put things in place that isn't going to become a whole bunch of extra work for somebody else, but kind of becomes part of our onboarding for substitute teachers.
Thank
So
you.
we do have a starting spot, but we know we've got some more work to do there as well. So before I move forward, any questions about any of the current vacancies or positions, any of the data that I've shared with you here?
So, two things. One, and I was talking with AJ about this, probably for Renee. So I was talking with AJ last meeting, and I think one of the things that we might look at is being creative with some of those really hard to fill, like lunch aides, crossing guards. You know, it's really hard for somebody to be able to devote themselves to a job that's an hour and a half a day. But maybe we could use like bus drivers who have a big gap in the middle of their day and make it a full-day job for the people who want it. I mean, if somebody wants to just do the typical bus driver, I think we let them do that. But people interested in doing the extra, why not get some of these harder to fill positions? And then also one of the things through discussions about substitutes and licensing on the state board that I keep bringing up is, when you look at those emergency sub-licenses, they're only good for 1 year. And when you look at the price of getting that license and what substitute teachers get paid, at my school, I've had a lot of my paraprofessionals who had a emergency sub-license let it expire because they couldn't afford to keep paying the $85 or whatever it is now to renew every single year. And so when you're having those discussions with them, maybe you could help push, we need to extend that more than 1 year or bring down the price because it's cost prohibitive to those emergency subs and we desperately need them.
Thank you for sharing that. And it actually came through some social media posts from some of our community members with saying, hey, why don't you pay for the cost of the sub-license? And there's some reasons why we wouldn't do that because that license, they could then be working for other districts. But I know that is definitely a concern. Jumping back to your suggestion about how we might be able to think about some of our current positions differently, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I know Mr. Fueling had met last week with Nutrition Services, and I met with them and Transportation today to have an open discussion about how we might be able to do that. It's not anything that we're ready to present at this point, I don't believe. Because we still have to do some communication with our associations and make sure that we have our ducks in a row to be able to support it. But I believe we're going to be able to do that this school year. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Mike said, I had emailed Mr. Sadler about something similar, and he'll probably have some of that in his presentation. But that's what I was looking at. My point was, if we can fill those gaps and make this more financially viable for these people, especially when I think about the beyond the substitutes, the folks that we need to hire, the parapros, the cooks, the bus drivers, if we can fill their day, make it an 8-hour day, even somehow make it a benefited position to where, they can afford to live. I don't know. I assume that would attract more people. It's tough. Like Mike said, it's so expensive to live here that, anything you can do to draw a full-time salary at it has to be beneficial. I don't know, but so I was asking him if he could give us a little update on that and some thoughts related to that.
Absolutely. And Mr. Casiopo, just to clarify, maybe I misinterpreted your email, but I believe you had requested information on the current benefited transportation and nutrition services. But I do understand your question about how we might be able to look at current positions. I will tell you that one of the positions we're considering at the moment would be for nutrition services workers that are at 3.5 hours that are not benefited, how we could get them additional hours and become benefited. How we might be able to take some of our transportation folks who don't work a full 8-hour day currently and be able to pair them up with food services to be able to be not only benefited as they currently are, but also have those additional hours and pay as a benefit.
Yeah, and I apologize. I mean, that was I was curious about where we at currently with folks, but really that was my main point was, to make these positions more attractive. Is there something we can do to restructure it to where, we can get folks on our campuses 8 hours a day, gives them a little more money, possibly gives them benefits, and maybe that attracts more people to apply.
Yeah.
And I don't know about here, but I know at my school, the area that we have the most discipline problems is on the bus. And so I think it's would serve two purposes. If the kids see bus drivers as part of the school community, part of the teaching staff, that might up the level of respect on some of those buses. And I don't know if that's an issue in Carson, I'm just assuming, but I think that it just would help legitimatize that role in the eyes of the students.
Absolutely.
So as far as promoting these opportunities, as you mentioned earlier, word of mouth is the best way to go. So one suggestion that I have is perhaps going to the religious organizations and make an announcement that, the district is hiring. I think that would also allow us the opportunity to diversify our staff. And I think that that is another thing that we should be keeping in mind.
Thank you. That's a great suggestion. And I'll get in just a minute. I'll kind of share some things that we are doing. Keep in mind, like I started this job July 1, but there's not time to waste. We're in hiring season right now, and we have been for quite a while. I know we're probably going to continue to struggle to fill some positions as well. I would love to say our expectation is that on the first day of school, we have all our positions filled and we're good, but that it's going to be a significant challenge for us to do that. So when we talk about what we can do, there's a lot that we currently are not that we need to consider. And so similar to your suggestion for working with religious organizations locally, lots of different organizations locally, also canvassing our campuses and parking lots in the mornings when school starts and working with parents and helping to get that out. Working with some of our current staff members to get the word out and brand ambassadors. So I'll be giving you regular updates on what we are doing, and just know that this isn't all like my idea. This is really a community that we need to put our brains together on what we can do to support this.
Excuse me, if I could, one thing I just wanted to mention too, in this last school year, with the help really of Mr. Mark Rodina, he helped set up getting student custodians in our buildings to help out doing extra work. And in that opportunity, I know I just had one of those student custodians come in that had graduated high school, and now he decided to apply to become a custodian. So he's going to be fully benefited within the district at 18 years old. So I think there's opportunities there with trying to engage our own student population as well for the future benefit.
Yeah, thanks, AJ. I think it's a good idea. I mean, I can tell you, because I know people have those questions about, gee, people may not want to work for the district. It's tough to fill positions everywhere. At my office, we're looking for everybody from engineers to accountants to everybody, and they're tough. I mean, we've tried, LinkedIn and Indeed and all those places, and it's hit and miss. I mean, we're resorting to recruiters, and it's costly to do that. So it's not just a school thing. This is across the board. And, you got a tough job ahead of you on that.
Absolutely.
But anything we can do to help, I mean, these are important positions.
Just like COVID kind of changed the thought of what teachers do in the classroom and what learning looks like right now, I think it's also changed the way we hire employees and the way we have to really be creative in what we're doing. Just what we've done forever isn't going to work anymore. So I think I want to commend you for looking outside the box and embracing new strategies, because I think even this isn't going to be enough. I think that we're going to have to really go to the drawing board to fill all of these positions.
Yeah. It's going to be some tough sledding for sure. But again, our students deserve the best, and we don't want to lower our standards to develop the folks that we do have. Retention becomes, or has become, really the bigger conversation. Recruitment's something that's going to be ongoing, and there's going to be some natural attrition that's expected and even welcomed. With people retiring, that's a celebration. But when we have more people leaving than we're able to fill positions, which I don't know that we're quite there yet, it feels that way, but the data doesn't represent it quite that way. We have to really look at why are people leaving, where are they going, how do we address things that current employees are working through so that they not only feel valued, but that they are valued with everything they do and that they represent for our students every day. And every position is equally important, from, I don't even want to call it the lowest position, maybe we would say the lowest paying position to the highest paid position. They're all relevant and very important for our students and their success. So I think people who work in schools closely understand that, and there's a lot of people out there who aren't currently working in schools that we want to identify that would be great candidates to come be part of that. So as we talk about how we brand things and reach out there in new creative ways, a big part of that is, the intrinsic motivation and reward of truly making a difference for students. So money isn't going to be there the way we think it would make a change, right? Joe, back to what I mentioned earlier, just for everybody's data here, or for your brains, I should say, benefited classified positions in transportation. And maybe this kind of just shows like our current employees and how it's kind of spread out, that we've got people with different hours per day. It's not the same. So when we think about a bus driver, it's not necessarily all those folks are working 8 hours a day. And why we might be able to be more flexible. Look at the bus attendant as an example. How might we be able to fill some additional hours for those folks and get some additional pay for them and helping us out. And then for nutrition services, similarly, those are not all the same. They don't all fit in the same box. Couple things that we're currently doing. If you've been on our website recently, you've probably just noticed a couple different graphics and flyers. We'll continue to develop that. Specifically, I wanted to do something that just kind of grabbed attention for right now, but we'll be developing some more that are catering towards different generations of employees as well. Some that'll cater towards more folks that are just, entering the workforce, and some that are more geared towards people that may want to reenter the workforce after being retired. So you'll see some targeted marketing strategies involved in that process. You'll notice on here that we have some bonuses that we're talking about here for classified positions, classroom teachers, custodians, bus drivers, and special education paraprofessionals. So you'll see some of those benefits worked into those materials.
Dan, before you move on,
Yes.
if I could ask a question. I know it's real early in the process about the bonuses and retention. Have you seen anybody come in and say they're there because they read that they can get a $2,000 bonus or whatever? Is that came to fruition yet?
Not yet. Not yet. But I think it will. I will say we've had a few leave because the bonuses were bigger in other districts that I'm aware of. I do know that. But that's a really important thing that we need to be tracking, especially as we talk about retention and recruitment. Like, what are the strategies that have been successful? Unfortunately, that's something we've not tracked well as a district. Before I even applied for this position, I started trying to dig with human resources to get some data, and it was like, yeah, we didn't really paid much attention to some of those things. I shouldn't say haven't paid attention. We haven't tracked it in a way that we can learn from it through a data lens.
And I also know from experience in my career, ex-career, is money sometimes it's very important. People got to have a living wage and everything. But money tends, in my experience, to be a short-term motivator. They're happy, people are happy they get a raise. Then a little while later, they start focusing on negative things again. So I think we got to look at not only giving them a better wage, but maybe better working conditions, taking some of the workload off of some of the people, the teachers, and some of the staff maybe, if we can do something like that.
I think everybody who works for this district would agree with that statement. Yes.
And Dan, I don't know if you've heard anything, I've just heard from a few people, but of course you talk about bonuses and you had them structured in here differently for different people. And of course, the one question I got is why do these positions warrant a $2,000 bonus when, and you can imagine who I heard this from, where others warrant a $1,000 bonus. And when you were setting up bonuses, and I say you, but the district, was there any thought to just making like a flat bonus across the board? $1,500 for everybody, or kind of what went into that for the people?
Yeah, I don't want to deflect, but I kind of have to because I didn't decide
Yeah.
that.
Thanks, Mr. Sadler. And so really the entire bonus structure at this point reflects the ESSER bonuses that we've already talked about over the next years, the 500, 500, 500, 500. And then really the other side of that is what was negotiated during classified, within the classified contract. So it's just those two things. There's nothing else there. There was, the numbers represented just represent the outcomes of those bonuses that were determined there.
As Mr. Fueling mentioned earlier, we are doing a couple job fairs coming up on Tuesday, July 19th for teachers and substitutes. And that doesn't mean you have to be a current teacher. We are also looking how we can partner up with folks who maybe have a bachelor's degree that have been working in other fields that may have an interest. We may not be able to get them in the door right away, but we want to partner with those folks who might be interested in teaching and kind of help them through that process, especially with alternative routes to licensure. And there's many ways that we can get people in the field of education specific to teaching in the classroom without a traditional route. Also, substitute teachers. We're always looking for substitute teachers. Again, one of the things I'm working on right now is some different pay structure for substitute teachers. If we're going to have any emergency subs all the way up through long-term subs who are doing additional planning, creating a little bit of incentive for folks to complete the certification that I referred to earlier. And then again, some ongoing professional learning for those folks, because those are people, if they're interested in coming to work here as substitute teachers, we want to develop them as potential educators moving forward.
Dan, one thing I'd also say is I want people who think about applying, the PERS benefits is very important, and maybe we could push that a little bit more. I know when I started, I made very little money, and I didn't think about retirement. But 32 years later, when I retired, I was sure glad that I had that retirement.
Yeah.
So that's a big benefit.
And thank you for mentioning that. If we look at the strategic plan and the marketing plan that was put into human resources, there are some very specific details that will be considered as we go through future marketing. Again, this was like, okay, it's July, school starts August, let's just be big and bold. But you're going to see some very strategic marketing in materials, in when we go to set up. And when I say job fairs, I'm not talking about traveling. I'm talking about here in town, setting up at different places, and specifically highlighting some of the other benefits about working for the Carson City School District, in addition to what a great area this is. Of course, if we're already here, then people know that. But if you look at the strategic plan, you will see that outlined that I'm using kind of as guidance for that. As I mentioned earlier, retention is kind of our new focus for recruitment and how we can support folks. And I will be tracking and sharing data and our metrics on kind of what we're seeing, how many people left positions this school year, why did they leave? We'll have kind of some limited information on that, but we're going to build on it. We'll also start doing some stay interviews with current staff, like what keeps them going, what might cause them to leave, information that we have from current employees on how we can assist in bringing more value to the work that they do. But just starting as a baseline with July 1 from this year, how many applicants we've had, how many came through as quality hires. Those are things, again, we haven't had historically that I will start sharing that data with you. And that's going to help us make some really informed decisions as far as some next steps too, so that we're not just saying, well, we don't have people again. What are we going to do now? Let's throw more stuff at the wall and see what sticks. We really need to drive this through the data to see what is successful and then consider how we move forward and learn from that. So again, when we have people who separate from the district, that becomes a really good opportunity for us to get information that'll help us as we move forward, and also kind of predicting how many openings we might expect year by year. You're going to see lots of hiring events and opportunities and job fairs in just different ways. So if you have ideas on those, let us know. Yes.
Have you had a chance to review the application process? And the reason why I'm asking is because I had a couple of individuals who applied for the district, and they asked me for a letter of reference. So I had to do an application online for them, and it was extremely lengthy. And so I'm wondering if that could be a barrier that we could remove, if possible, for the applicants.
It's an excellent question. And let me jump back to just say, when I put in for this position, I applied for this position externally and internally just to see what it looked like from both of those viewpoints, because it looks very different from internal applicants and somebody who doesn't currently work for the school district. And there's definitely some things that we are going to be cleaning up in that process. I also applied for some positions in other districts, not with the intent to go there, but just to see what their process looked like. And I found some districts that were extremely user-friendly. There was one that I had highlighted in my interview where it was like a quick apply button for a substitute teacher, and I clicked on that and got a phone call within minutes, like, hey, I had to put my phone number in for some information, but they reached out to me right away and said, hey, you're interested in a position, what can I answer for you? So yeah, there's a lot that we really haven't changed. I mean, we updated our software package, if you will, a couple of years ago, but the process itself that's embedded into that needs another look, and we want to make that user-friendly. Letters of recommendation are something that comes up often as well, because that takes a lot of time and planning and preparation, and really, I think the confidential references are much more valuable from a hiring standpoint for us than the letters of recommendation. So we want to expedite that process. That'll be part of the data that we're tracking as well, from the time somebody puts in for a position to the time they have follow-up from somebody in human resources to the time we can get them in the door as a quality hire. Let's see, brand ambassadors, again, I'm going to be kind of starting with our executive team, our district directors, our school principals, in a conversation to identify employees in all areas of our school district to become brand ambassadors, and really just people who are champions for the school district that could be experts with word of mouth and helping us get the word out there, both in person and using social media. Several of our surrounding areas are starting to offer employee referrals, and that's something that we have been discussing. You want me to share details on that? Or fine-tuning, there you go. Something we're considering is how we might be able to do that. And again, like money's a good thing, but it doesn't always last forever. So if this is something that we can do for right now to help us with our current situation, then we want to consider that as an option. And this was just sharing with Lyon County kind of what that looks like for them right now. Just kind of reviewing, like, we really want to partner with our community members in this too. I know a lot of, when I was the principal, and I know a lot of my, at Carson Middle School, and a lot of my colleagues who were principals, we'd get frustrated when we had no applicants, and what is HR doing about this? Like, I'm not hearing anything, and it's because people weren't putting in for positions. And so communication from me as a leader and working to support those folks who ultimately are supporting the teachers who are supporting the students. And we all need to be in communication, and that includes our families and our community members. And I know as a school principal, that was something we always struggled with, and we didn't really know the answer how to fix that. So this is an opportunity for us to bring our community members into that conversation and be part of making this an even better place to work and learn. So we're looking for the best. That's what we want. People coming here to help that process, and people who are innovative and definitely want to empower anybody who's looking for a position to reach out to me directly. Come to our job fairs next week. And again, I'll just kind of put that flyer up here. I think I discussed a little bit about the teachers and substitutes on Tuesday, but we're trying to separate to have all other positions on Wednesday. If that doesn't work for somebody's schedule, they're more than welcome to come either of those days. We just aren't quite sure what to expect as far as numbers. We're looking at this, that if we get one person through the door and through this process, then it's been beneficial and something we can learn from. And even if we didn't, we'll learn from it and how we approach things moving forward. But I know there's been some interest already, some people calling, asking about it, and some people, we're looking forward to meeting with them next week. We will have computers available in the boardroom at the district office. We'll also have some of the big sandwich boards out front saying, enter here for job fair. So it's really easy for folks to see where to come in. And then we just want to have a conversation with them about our awesome school district and how they might be a part of it.
So then they'll be able to actually apply right then and there. if they don't have
Yes.
Computers, right? So they should bring their stuff if they are really interested so that you guys can help them walk through that.
Absolutely.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Sadler?
Thank you, President Varner. I want to thank Mr. Sadler. He has truly hit the ground running, I think, with a lot of this and has done a great job with kind of sifting through this data and trying to make sense of this world we are in. So that has been great. I also wanted to mention we just received approval from Department of Education on offering bonuses specifically tied. It's through it's an ESSER grant, but it's ESSER very specifically for special education. And so the way that it has been submitted and improved is having previously we called our CLS or autism classrooms, and now we call them our alternative standard classrooms. So there's 2 at Boardwalk Bray, 2 at Fremont, I think 1 at Carson Middle, 1 at Eagle Valley, and 3 at Carson High School. Those in the teaching positions, either existing or new, so you could think of it as a retention bonus for current staff or a hiring bonus for new staff that would come on, a $5,000 bonus for certified staff, and for special ed paraprofessionals in those classrooms, $2,500. So it's pretty significant. I realized in the prior 7 years, the word bonus almost never came up, and I feel like it's just happening so much, and it's other districts as well in the news. But that is something we're excited to get approved, and clearly there's a lot of need within special education classrooms, as Mr. Sadler showed us tonight. So just want to make you aware of that.
Any other comments or questions? Mike?
And I just want to say good hire on Ariel. You know, we talk about grow your own, and she's a Carson kid. And when her mom was our secretary at Seeliger, I think every summer Ariel came in and got the teacher stuff together before the first day of school. And when I was trying to pick up the pieces at Fritch, she was there training the secretaries how to handle the new enrollment system. And I mean, she's just a great kid. So I think you made a good hire.
Yes, we did. Thank you for confirming that, Mr. Walker.
That's the other thing you have to keep in consideration is a lot of these openings we created ourselves because we've hired within. So we've got this domino effect. So kudos for that, but that's what happens.
Part of the process, yeah. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you again for your time. And again, I look forward to sharing information with you on a regular basis and answering any questions. But, anything that you have that comes up, feel free to send me an email or give me a call.
Thank you. And we appreciate the offer to share more information along the way. It's very important for us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good presentation. Go ahead and move on to agenda item number 10, discussion and possible action to designate critical labor shortages for cook/baker staff, bus attendant staff, and transportation mechanic staff, and to allow acceptance of applications from retired teachers and educational support personnel to fill positions for cook/baker staff, bus attendant staff, and transportation mechanic staff as allowed under NRS 286.523, and this is for possible action. And again, Superintendent Fueling.
Thank you, President Varner. As you may recall, back in May, the Board of Trustees declared many positions as critical need, critical labor shortage, which is important in the process of allowing retirees to potentially come back and work here in the school district. We have been early on in this year when the staffing shortages were already clear. The state was encouraging districts to declare critical shortages in many of these areas, if not all areas. I believe Washoe County School District has declared critical shortage for every single possible position they have. So this is reflecting some positions that we have vacancies that had not been included in the last round, but still otherwise vacant and have not been filled over the past months. So I would say at this point, I'm not sure there will be, I don't believe there will be any more that I would bring as a request to the board to approve. But at this time, this kind of seems to round out where the last needs are that are not otherwise covered by previously approved positions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Fueling? Any comments? The only comment I had, and I think we talked about the other day, is how does this affect PERS?
Sure. So to the employee, so if they're hired on critical need, they can they're collecting their PERS, but they're also getting paid by the school district. The school district does have to pay PERS on that employee. However, it impacts the employees a little bit differently, and it gets a little convoluted, but what matters is if you are at your 30 years or more, or less than 30 years. And if you're actually at 30 years at more, a secondary account begins at PERS, which is seems kind of strange, but it's just kind of how they handle things. So it doesn't, I mean, the PERS benefit cost upon the district is still there. It doesn't change. It's really, truly is a benefit to the employee.
Thank you.
At least they don't qualify for signing bonuses. So like if you hire them, they don't get that extra. But I mean, they're getting quite a bonus in incentive and doubling their pay, really.
Sure, and we actually had not made that distinction. I think that would be a district by district decision, but I certainly look into that just to verify.
Joe?
I'm just ready to make a motion.
Okay, I'll call for a motion.
And Mike and I were laughing because I seem to get these long-winded ones lately. So here we go. I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees pursuant to NRS 286523, in light of the efforts made by the district to fill the open positions for cook baker staff, bus attendant staff, and transportation mechanic staff, as outlined by Mr. Andrew Fueling today in the document submitted, we're making the findings required by statute and adopt the written findings made by Mr. Fueling in the Nevada PERS forms presented to the Board of Trustees, and based on those written findings, we declare that the statutory provisions provided in NRS 286523 have been met, that there is a critical labor shortage for cook baker staff, bus attendant staff, and transportation mechanic staff for a period not exceeding 2 years.
Second by Mike, thank you. Any board discussion on the motion? Seeing none, any in-person public comment on the motion? Seeing none, any online comment?
No, Mr. Varner, thank you.
We'll go ahead and close public comment. And this time I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fueling. We'll go on, move on to agenda item number 11, discussion on the Nevada Association of School Board, NASB nominations to be considered for recognition during the 2022 annual conference, and this is for discussion only. As everyone sees in their package, these are due by August 13th, is the deadline to have them submitted. And on June 8th, also in your packet, on the executive summary, the administrators had meetings and they made some suggestions, and that's on page 2 of the executive summary, of who they felt may be eligible or deserving of a nomination. And I don't know if you want to go through all of these, but they had one for the School Administrator of the Year, several for that. NASB School District Employee Making a Difference, probably 10 different ones for there. Then the NASB District Level Administrator of the Year, impacting student achievement. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different nominations there, or suggestions for nomination. Then the NASB Award to Individual Friend of K-12 Public Education, or K-12 Public Education Advocacy Organization. There again, there's 4 possible nominations. Then the NASB Innovative Educator of the Year. There's quite a few there. So what I wanted to discuss is get some ideas of how you guys would like to handle this. And there's more nominations that need to be made. There's a total of 13, I believe, different nominations that we have to make. And I know that we don't have Trustee Crossman here tonight, so I'd like to involve her in these nomination process also. So I'm thinking that we could do several things. We could go through each nomination, come up with some ideas tonight, or everyone could take these suggested nominations back, come back to the next board meeting with suggestions for all the nominations, and then we could discuss it further at that point. Or we can go ahead and discuss each individual one tonight and try to come up with some ideas tonight.
So just for time considerations, that only gives us, 14 days to write them? And we've had longer time than that and still pushed it. So I'm a little nervous about that. If we could maybe streamline some of them so that we could have some of that writing done ahead of time for the next board meeting, and then maybe whittle down where we know we have a lot of deserving people, and knowing that Ms. Crossman would probably want to put something in a couple of these and maybe leave those open. But at least maybe we could at least get the list down so that some of the writing can already be done.
And Mr. Fueling suggested the other day that if we pick somebody who's been nominated by an administrative staff, that perhaps they could write something up for why that person was nominated. Because I don't think we have anything right now that
Aren't
says
they
that.
on break, though?
The administrators?
Aren't administrators
Are
on
they?
break? Yeah.
Yeah, they shouldn't be.
I can find them.
Because to be honest with you, I mean, a lot of these people, I'm sure they're all very deserving, but I don't know the people. I don't know what they've done. I have no idea, why they were put in for the nomination.
Right, and especially like with the Innovative Educator of the Year, I noticed that like Adrian Wiggins, who was actually the classified of the year, is not even in here.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the administrator, Mr. Zona was the district's administrator of the year, and he's not in there. So, and those two are already written.
And just my personal thought is, I know we're going to be crunched for time. That's always an issue. But I'd like a little time to digest it and maybe provide some insight from, because, I don't want to rush and like Stacy just said, we accidentally don't consider somebody. So for that reason, I'd like to postpone the discussion and just get a chance to review it.
But in that case, all of those you want to review? Because I think some of these we could knock out, like maybe at least the school board member stuff, we can get that done. The director of the year, Mike probably knows somebody that, and
I'd be comfortable with trying to knock out the school board and the director of the year, but some of the staff and the administrators, I'd like a chance to digest that.
I agree.
And give that some thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's some of, especially those ones. But like superintendent of the year.
And that is something, they've added that back in there, right? The superintendent of the year.
That's what it looks like.
Well, we could do that. We could go through and give some suggestions on the ones that we feel we're able to. And so if that's the desire of the board, we'll go ahead and work through that.
I guess, I mean, I really would like time to think about it, though. I mean, I feel like it's rushed, and then we're gonna think back and be like, oh, we didn't even think about blank. Or if you look at some of these suggestions from sites, some of the innovative educators, I don't even know. And so I could pick somebody I know, but what if we're truly not acknowledging some phenomenal work that's happening in the district?
Well, that was my concern is, what did they do to get nominated?
Well,
Like I
how do
said,
we-
I'm sure they're all,
Right. How do we get that information though within 2 weeks?
look for Superintendent Fueling for that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and truly, I don't know when these come in and the nominations, what they look like, as far as having any kind of information with them at all, or who they are from specifically. But clearly, you could reach out to the specific sites for those that you know, and we could try to gather other information. And maybe in the future, as these come in, that there are some kind of really short, just summaries of the quick hits of why this person was nominated. It'd probably make your process much easier.
It would, and to be honest, I talked to Renee earlier about that, and I think in the future that's what'll happen. So I'm kind of gathering that people would like time to digest what's here, come back next meeting with recommendations. Okay. And this is for discussion only, so we don't need any motion or anything. So that's what we'll do then. We'll just give everybody time, the next 2 weeks, to digest the information, then bring your suggested nominations back at the next board meeting.
Just for clarification.
Sure.
Are we keeping individuals that have already retired? Is that one of the? Yeah, okay. Okay.
No, I think we should check into that. I'm not sure retired employees are eligible. I think we had this problem like 2 years ago when I was on the nominating committee, but I'll double check. But
Could you double check, then get
Yeah,
a hold of
double
Renee, and then she can let us know?
I'll send Laurel an email so she can check.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments at this time? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to, let me get my thing here. Agenda item number 12, approval of the consent agenda, and this is for possible action.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as submitted.
Second by Lupe. Who? Lupe? Okay. Any comment from the board on the motion? Seeing none. Any public comment on the motion? Seeing no in-person comment. Any online comment?
No, Mr. Varner, thank you.
Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Next is agenda item number 13, which is the informational items. They're all listed on our board packet, so everybody can review those. Is there any questions on that at all? Seeing none, we'll move on. And the time is now 8:23. We'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Did I miss something? 14. I missed 14? Oh. Thank you very much. A request for future agenda items is the next on the agenda.
Just a little update, what's going on with the superintendent's evaluation? Have you guys been working on that? And did we decide? Just checking on the superintendent's evaluation and how that's working if that's going to be on the future agenda.
Yeah, we can put that on the next agenda.
Not necessarily a future agenda topic, but a future item of note that I should have mentioned during my NASB report. Information very shortly about the fall conference is going to be coming out, and they're requesting that we register as soon as we can, and if we're interested in getting the rooms, getting reservations for the rooms before that block is all used up, I guess, for the November leadership conference.
Do you know, is that going to be in Reno or?
It'll be at Harvey's again.
Harvey's again, okay. And that information will be coming out before long, thank you. Sorry about missing item 14. Now, time is 8:24. We'll go ahead and call for adjournment. Thank you, guys.